Hello everyone, this is Cardmates. The biggest question that players have about playing Ace King on the flop is, what should we do when we miss? An excellent Ace King hand will be worthless Ace High hand in 67% of cases on the flop. Great difficulties with Ace King arise in 3-bet pots for the following two simple reasons. 1. Ace King is often a strong enough hand to 3-bet. 2. Ace King is a strong enough hand to call a 3-bet when you are not playing a 4-bet. Let's look at the example of a 3-bet pot when we do not hit the flop. The player in the bottom open raises to $3. Hero makes a 3-bet to $10 from a small blind with Ace King. The bottom calls. And now, the flop is 8-4-2. What should Hero do in this case? Would you make a C-bet here? It is essential to be very specific here. We ask whether we should make a C-bet and not whether it will be profitable. We can almost certainly make a profitable C-bet here in most cases, but this does not guarantee us that this is the best game. Even profitable decisions must be carefully analyzed. Many players prefer to make a continuation bet here, and since this brings them profit in the long run, they think little about whether this strategy should be adjusted. After all, why should we fix what is not broken? However, our goal as players is to create the highest possible expectation and not just to accept any result that turns out to be positive. That's why we should carefully analyze even profitable decisions. We do not need to analyze whether bet or a check is the best game here. It is much more useful to discuss the relevant principles. It's also a good idea to avoid excessive dogmatism, since there is a real possibility that our actions will turn out to be a mixed strategy, both with a bet and with a check with a certain periodicity. Equity retention. The knowledge of equity retention is a prerequisite for making basic decisions at the poker table. Think of the following. What is the difference between the starting hand, Ace of Clubs, Kings of Diamonds, to the hand Ace and King of Clubs? On the flop there are 8 of Diamonds, 4 of Clubs, and 2 of Hearts. It is easy to see that Ace and King of Clubs have a background flush draw, while Ace of Clubs, King of Diamonds does not have it. Hands with draws or backdoor draws can usually be described as hands with good equity retention. Can you explain in your own words what is equity retention? Don't worry, if you still cannot answer this question, we'll help you. Let's illustrate the concept of retaining equity with the following hand. The bottom open raises to $3. Hero from the small blind makes it 3 bets to $10 with Ace King of Suit. The bottom calls. If we had Ace and King of Clubs, we would get a flush draw and a gut shot on the turn. And now, in this case with Ace King of Suit, we only have a gut shot. For clarity, imagine that our opponent continues here with a very narrow range, from 6s to jacks. The close range best demonstrates the concept of equity retention. Hands with good equity retention retain most of the equity even against very strong ranges. First, let's see the equity of A and King of Clubs, and A of Clubs and King of Diamonds on the turn, against pairs from 6s to jacks. A and King of Clubs have 37% equity. A of Clubs, King of Diamonds have 20% of equity. Of course, perhaps the example is a little unfair, since Ace and King of Clubs, as it turned out, happened to make the draw. Naturally, therefore, the inequality in the equity between the two hands is enormous. Most of the time, the Ace King of Clubs will not collect the flush draw and, therefore, will be in a situation that is quite similar to the Ace King of Suit. But it is still worth saying, on average, the Ace King of Clubs on the turn will have more equity. The following images show the Ace King equity on various turn cards. The possible turn cards are shown along the x-axis, and the bars colors represent suited cards. Here's an equity chart for the Ace King of Suit. And here is the equity for the Ace King of Clubs. A red horizontal line indicates the average equity for all possible turn cards. It is easy to see that the red line is 5% higher on the Ace King of Clubs chart. This indicates that the ace-king suited, on average, retains an additional 5% equity on the turn cards. Please, pay attention to how the green bars spiked from the ace-king of clubs increase in our average equity. They represent the turn cards where we collect flush draws. Is there a simple lesson we can learn from this? The essence of all this is the following. Hands with good equity will be better in large pots. Hands with a lot of raw equity, but poor equity retention, will be better in small pots. We do not want to strengthen the opponent's range with large bets if our hand does not retain its equity against strong ranges. It's much better to keep your opponent's range wide and play with our increased equity against his entire range. How can we incorporate this concept into our post-flop strategy? Returning to our example, we can probably see the logic in our basic strategy, where we check with ace-king offsuit and bet with a backdoor flush draw to barrel with a flush draw on the turn. Although the flop check call by a pre-flop raiser may seem weak at first glance, it is an integral part of a complete poker strategy. Many players have a leak when they check, fold too often after they do not make a continuation bet as a pre-flop aggressor. Check or calling with some ace-king combinations will protect us from overly aggressive opponents. In the scenarios where we have a backdoor flush draw, the bet-bet check line gives us the best results, provided that we make our flush draw on the turn. But we will discuss playing on the turn and river in our next video. And finally, we must understand that the c-bet of all ace-kings combinations will often be the best game against opponents who fold too often. On the other hand, it might be right to check all king combinations, even with a backdoor flush draw, against call station opponents, especially if they can knock us out of the hand on the later streets when we show weakness. Although it's good to have a solid default strategy, a strong exploitative game still brings profit in 99.9% of poker games. That's all, guys. I hope this information was useful to you. And if you like this video, please hit that like button and visit our website, cardmates.net. Bye, folks!